Okay, today's class is focusing on the shoulder blades, aka the scapula. So we will jump right in and get started. If you have a block, bring it on the medium setting so that it is lengthwise on your mat. And come to lie down on it, bringing your shoulder blade area and your mid back onto the block, interlacing the fingers behind the head, and you can bring the elbows in to just provide some support for the neck, since the neck will be off the block. And while we're here, we're just gonna wiggle around on the block and envision a bear in the woods and kind of how they wiggle around to scratch their backs. That's what we're doing here. We're just opening up any tissue that is bound and tight. In tonight's class, we're going to focus on moving the shoulder blades and moving them well on the rib cage. They should move freely and well, but they can get bound from different deviations from optimal posture. And the tissue of the back body, that fascia, can get stuck and cause us to not move our shoulder blades very well. So by doing this, we're kind of opening up that tissue and making sure that that fascial restriction isn't causing our shoulder blades to not move the way that they're supposed to. And there's no right way to do this. This is just wiggling. You can kind of lean back and just open up the elbows to get some chest opening here. We're just wiggling around. And we'll just be here for another 2 breaths because it feels nice. And as you're ready, you can come and remove that block from underneath you. You could bring it in between the thighs for bridge pose, just bringing it in up near the pubic bone, pressing into the feet and lifting the hips up off the floor, coming into a low bridge pose here. Reach the hands up to the ceiling so that the fingertips are pointing up to the ceiling. And while we're here, allow the shoulder blades to move apart from one another and use that to bring your fingertips up closer to the ceiling. This is called protraction of the scapula. And then just relax back down, come back to neutral, and then reach the fingertips up higher towards the ceiling. And as you do so, you'll feel the shoulder blades moving apart from one another on the back. And then release. And keep going with that a couple more times, just reaching the fingertips up, moving from the shoulder blade, and then coming back down. This will also help release any fascial restrictions in between the shoulder blades as you dome between the shoulder blades to lift the fingertips up higher. And then after this last time, we'll just come and find some wrist stretches, pulling back on the fingertips of the right wrist with the left. And you can flip the fingertips to face away from you and use the left thumb on the back of the right palm to just provide a little bit of brace and support for that hand. As you pull back in the fingertips in a different direction, you can add a little bend in this right elbow. Still squeezing into the block if you have it between your thighs, and using the glutes here, wrapping the tailbone underneath you. And then switching hands for the wrist stretch, pulling back on the fingertips of the left hand. Noticing what that feels like to have the elbow straight and the fingers facing your face, and then turning the fingertips away from you. Use the right thumb on the back of the left hand to provide a little brace for support. You can put a bend in the left elbow just slightly, and notice the different tissues and muscles around the forearm that stretch is going to target. And release the wrist stretch. Slowly lower all the way down onto the floor. Remove the block from underneath you and interlace the fingers behind the head, bringing the elbows in nice and close to the temple. We'll come through our ab series for the night. Take a big breath in. Exhale, curl up, lifting up off the shoulder blades, keeping those off of the ground. Extend that right leg so that it is nice and long and straight. Then moving from the deep core. So imagine that your leg connects not just to the hip crease, but all the way up through the belly. Start to lower that right leg down a couple inches. So we're moving from the belly, lowering the right leg down, pausing there. And then again, moving from that deep core, lifting the right leg back up, right foot comes down, inhale and lower. Exhale, curl. The left leg extends straight, moving from the deep part of the belly where the belly button is. Allow the left leg to come down a couple inches closer to the floor. And then again, moving from the belly, lift that left leg back up a couple more inches to where it came from. Left leg comes down, inhale and lower. Exhale, curl. Right leg extends. Right leg comes down a little bit. Pause here or lift that left leg up off the floor so that the knee comes over, the left knee over the left hip. Feel those obliques fire up. Whew. Left foot comes down, right knee bends, lower, and inhale as you lower all the way down. Exhale, curl. Left leg extends straight. You can lower it down just a couple inches. You're still moving from the belly. You're still pulling that core in. Right knee can come over the right hip. Pull the belly in and down. Right foot comes down, left foot rebends. Inhale and lower. Adding on one more time. Exhale, curl. The right leg extends. You can lower it down a couple inches. Left knee comes over the left hip. Take a 2-inch twist towards the left and then extend that right arm on the outside of the left leg, and then move that arm further to the left, moving from the right shoulder blade. Right hand comes back behind the head, left foot down, right knee rebends, inhale and lower. Exhale, curl. Left leg extends straight, lower it an inch or two. Right knee over the right hip as you twist towards the right. Extend the left arm outside the right thigh, and then moving from that left shoulder blade, reach the fingertips further away from you. Hand behind the head, feet come back down. Inhale, lower. We'll do one more on each side. Exhale, curl. Right leg extends straight. Lower the right leg a couple inches. Left knee over the left hip. Turn towards the left. Extend that right arm and move further away with the shoulder blade. Right hand behind the head. Left knee down. Right foot down. Inhale and lower. Very last time. Exhale, curl. Left leg extends straight. Lower the left leg. Right leg comes over the right knee. Turn towards the right. Left arm extends. Reach the fingertips further away. Stay lifted up off that right shoulder blade too. Left hand behind the head. Left foot down, right foot down. Inhale and lower. Whew. Grab the block if you have it nearby. Bring it on the highest setting outside of the left hip. We're just going to come into a spinal twist, bringing that right shin on top of the block and opening up the right arm to the right. Just getting some opening across the chest. A little release after that ab work. I did that particular sequence yesterday in my yoga class, and it was really hard, and I felt it again today. So hopefully your core is engaged and ready to work. Big breath in through the nose. Exhale, let it out through the mouth. Come back onto our backs and bring the block outside the right hip this time. Left leg, left shin can come on top of the block. Open up the left arm to the right, or left arm to the left. And breathe here. Having the block underneath the left leg like this just helps protect that low back area and provide some space for the sacrum. So we don't end up with the sciatica or any discomfort in the low back area. That part of the spine is very rigid and not meant to have a lot of movement. It's more for stability. So we don't want to introduce any twisting or torquing where it's not supposed to be. And then coming back onto our backs, and we'll make our way, coming all the way around onto quadruped, all fours. Ooh, you just cracked there. Bringing the hands underneath the shoulders and bringing the knees directly underneath the hips. Pull the navel into the spine to help make a nice flat back. Pull the front of the face into the back of the face so that you have a nice one long straight line from the crown of the head all the way through the tailbone. We'll do some serratus puffs here. So as you press the floor away from you and press into your palms, dome up between the shoulder blades. And then release. Press into the palms and dome up between the shoulder blades. So it's a lot like a cat pose, but we're really concentrating on lifting up between the shoulder blades and then release. And just keep going with that. Taking it nice and slow at your own pace. This is protraction of the shoulder blades again when we move them apart from one another. Press the shoulder blades away and come back down. One thing to note is that when we're moving in a plank pose or in weight bearing, we typically don't really want protraction or retraction, which is the opposite when our shoulder blades come really close to one another. We want them neutral on the back, and neutral is about 2 to 3 inches on either side of the spine. So we're practicing moving in this protracted position where we're really rounded between the shoulder blades, but that's not really what we want to do when we're in plank or weight bearing, at least not in just a static position. We might want to do it for focus area or to work this serratus muscle that does the action. But when we're just in plank or we're just weight bearing, we want to have shoulder blades neutral on the rib cage. And then release. And we'll come into dolphin here, bringing the forearms down onto the floor. You can interlace the fingers or not. Release the top of the skull to the mat, tuck the toes, and lift the hips up and back, coming into your dolphin. Take the feet nice and wide apart on the mat. And if it feels okay, you can release any interlacing of the fingers. Keep that right forearm pressing into the floor, and then tent the fingertips of the left hand over to the left. And if you feel stable and supported there, you can bring the left hand behind the back, forcing this right shoulder to really turn on here. Pressing into the forearm. One hand's down. And then we'll switch sides. The left forearm comes down. You can tent the fingertips of the right hand over to the right. And then once you feel stable and supported there, bring the right hand behind the back. This is called forced use, which makes a lot of sense, but it helps strengthen both sides of the body so that we don't rely on our more dominant side. In this case, our left arm is really being forced to work. Right hand comes down, both knees come down, and sink the hips back to the heels, coming into a child's pose. Rotate the palm so it's palm face up and pinky edge of the hand is on the floor. Take some big breaths in and out. Direct your breath along the whole length of your spine, from the top of the head all the way down through the tailbone. And then rotate the palms so that they're down on the mat again and rise back up. Make our way to the front of our mat, coming into our sequences. You can take any adjustments you need to. Find your mountain pose at the top of your mat. And again, bring your attention to those shoulder blades. Can you help them find neutral? So maybe you squeeze the shoulder blades together on your back, open up the front of the chest, and then come back into that protracted, more rounded position. And then find the happy middle way in between that, which is your neutral. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up. Allow the shoulder blades to lift up towards the ears. And as you exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Right leg steps back, lower the right knee, toes come down, arms lift up here. And again, allowing those shoulders to lift up towards the ears. This is healthy movement. This is elevation of the shoulder blades. Hands come to the floor, step back for plank. Lower the knees, feel the shoulder blades on the back, feel them in neutral. You're not pressing away, you're not sinking in towards one another, and then lower all the way. Inhale, pull back for cobra, dragging the shoulder blades down the back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg steps forward, lower the back knee, top of the foot, arms reach up here, shoulder blades lift up. Hands come down, slide the back foot in as you forward fold. Inhale, rise to stand, arms reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Left leg steps back, lower the left knee, top of the foot. This time the arms will stay down by your side, allow them to dangle, and then moving the entire shoulder complex, roll the shoulders back. One at a time, opening up the chest. Hands come to the floor, step back for plank. Find the shoulder blades in neutral, lower the knees, lower all the way. Inhale, pull back for cobra, shoulder blades draw down the back, exhale, downward facing dog. Left foot steps forward, lower the right knee, top of the foot, arms dangle, and let's do that again. Moving the entire shoulder complex up, back, and down. Should all be doing this every day. Hands come to the floor, slide the back foot in, forward fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, forward fold. Step the right leg back, lower the right knee, keep the toes tucked this time. If you've got a block nearby, grab it and bring it behind the back. You'll grab it wide ways with each on either side, and then pull the block apart as if you can rip it in two, and you'll feel the muscles around the shoulders engage. Keep pulling it apart. Release the block to the side, hands come to the floor, step back for plank. Lower the knees, lower all the way. Inhale for cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg steps forward, lower the back knee, toes stay tucked, grab your block, squeeze, and pull it apart. Opening up the front of the chest here, releasing that block down. Fingertips come forward, slide the back foot in, forward fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, forward fold. Step the left leg back, lower the left knee. Arms come into goalpost this time. And I'm sorry, actually bring your arms in front of you. You're going to use this right arm, lift up across the shoulder blade to open you in a twist towards the right. And then bring the right arm back through center. Lift the left arm up and open to the left and back through center. Keep going with that, focusing the movement on what's happening in your shoulder blades. You're not just doing it, we can kind of do it just with our arms, but really feeling that shoulder blade move along the rib cage, pulling it down and in as you reach one arm back at a time. Coming back to center, hands plant down, step back for plank. Lower both knees, lower all the way. Inhale for cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Last time, stepping the left foot forward, lower the right knee, toes stay tucked. Bring the arms and elbows in front of you again, just like you were before. And then we're just going to open and close. Open, come into goalpost, close, forearms touch together. Open and close. Shoulder blades come apart, shoulder blades come together. One more time. Hands plant down, step the back foot in, forward fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Moving into our first sequence, exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Hands plant down, fingertips plant down rather. Step the right leg back. We're coming into this right leg fingertip lunge here. Keeping the fingertips on the floor, we're going to use the shoulder blades, bring the shoulder blades in towards one another to lift the fingertips up off the floor, and then release. Arms lift up, shoulder blades come together, fingertips back down. Keep going with that. A few more. Fingertips stay down this time. The right knee comes to the floor. Lift up into that low lunge. And with your hands in this goalpost position, one at a time, draw the right shoulder blade down the back and in towards midline, and then back up. Left shoulder blade down the back, in towards midline, and back up. And just keep going one at a time. The arm is just following the movement of the shoulder blade. So my left elbow is coming in, right elbow is coming in, but that's just because of what's happening closer to the proximal range of the body. Last time, hands plant down. We'll step back for plank. Find your shoulder blades in neutral. So try it again here, pressing the floor away. Do you really find that protracted position? And then you can allow the chest to sink down, feel what it feels like to have the shoulder blades a little too close, and then find your happy medium in between the two. Pressing into the hands, tucking the tailbone underneath. You can lower the knees or not and lower all the way to the floor. Bring the fingertips out wide on the mat, tenting the palms and coming into a wide cobra here. Allow the top of the skull to just drop towards the floor. And release all the way down to the floor. Hands come underneath the shoulder blades. Press up and back through downward facing dog. Pausing in your down dog. Bending the elbows about a quarter way down to the floor. So the rib cage, nothing else changes. You're just bending the elbows towards the floor and then energetically dragging them in towards one another. And you will instantly feel muscles firing. It's called turbo dog. Great way to strengthen the shoulders. Breathe here. Then straighten the elbows about 98% of the way to what you perceive to be straight. And notice if that means a little bit more work in your down dog than what you might normally feel. As you press into the hands, walk those feet up to meet the hands, leaning into the shoulder blades to make your way to the front of the mat. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hinge at the hips, other side. Step the left leg back behind you, fingertips stay on the ground, and we'll draw our shoulder blades together, fingertips lift up and touch back down. Lift up and touch back down. You can add in, as your shoulder blades pull together, lifting the elbows up and then coming back down. So kind of like a bent over row here, but focus first on the scapula. The elbows are just following the movement. Fingertips stay down, lower the back knee to the floor, coming into that goalpost position, one at a time. Left shoulder blade down the back and in, right shoulder blade down the back and in. Moving in a lot of different directions tonight. Hands plant to the floor, step back for plank. Pause here, energetically dragging the hands back towards the feet. You'll immediately feel the shoulders engaged. Front of the face is pulling into the back of the skull. You're just looking down right in front of your nose here. You can lower to the knees or not, and lower all the way to the floor. Tent the fingertips off to the side. We're coming to that wide fingertip cobra, squeezing the shoulder blades together. I like to imagine I have like a marble in between my shoulder blades that I'm trying to press together. And release. Hands come underneath the shoulders. You can press up through plank or modified plank and back to downward facing dog. Without moving the rib cage or the legs, bend the arms about a quarter of the way. The elbows just come straight down towards the floor, and then energetically hug the elbows in. Feel that light up the shoulder complex. Then straighten about 98% of the way. Pause there. Might be a little shaky. Pressing into the hands, walking the feet up towards the hands. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Plant the hands, walk or hop back to plank. Can lower the knees or not. We're coming into a couple rounds of sun cell A. Inhale for cobra. Exhale, lift back and up, downward facing dog. Walk the feet in a little bit. Bend the knees, and then you can walk or hop your way to the front of the mat. However you get there, feel the integration of your shoulder blade onto the back body and really pressing into those hands as you bring your feet to the top of the mat. Inhaling to rise, exhaling to forward fold. Plant the hands, walk or step back. Lower the knees or not, and lower. Inhale for cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk the feet in a little bit, bend the knees, and then hop or step your way to the front of the mat, really leaning into the shoulder blades. Inhale to rise. Exhale, forward fold last time. Hands plant, walk or hop back for plank. Lower the knees or not. Inhale for cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. We'll pause here. Coming into our second sequence, we'll start right here. We'll focus on elevation and depression of the scapula. So what that means is you'll press into both palms, and as you do, allow the shoulder blades to come up closer towards your ears. It's kind of like a shrug of the shoulders. It's going to mean your hips go back and up, and then release back down to neutral. Press into the palms, shoulder blades, shoulders come closer to the ears, hips lift back and up, elevate those scapula. And keep going with that. You'll just elevate and then come back to neutral. Kind of weird to think of it as elevation because you're upside down, so it doesn't really feel like you're going up, but it's still the same movement of the shoulder blade. You're just in a different starting position. Last time, then we will step the left leg forward, coming into a high crescent lunge, generous bend in that back knee. Bring the fingertips to the top of the shoulders here, and one at a time, rolling the shoulders just like we did before in our sun cell 1. You'll probably get more movement through the rib cage with the fingertips being on top of the shoulders, and that's okay. Continuing to rotate. Last time, we'll keep the right arm and elbow lifted. Extend that right arm towards the ceiling. Left hand can come to the left side, or I'm sorry, left hand comes to the top of the right glute. Just take a little side bend over towards the left. Coming back up through center, then bring that right elbow to the top of the left thigh, coming into a prayer twisted crescent. Think of creating one long line of energy from the crown of the head all the way through that back right heel instead of focusing so much on twisting. You can keep your gaze right down in front of your nose. No need to look towards the left here. We'll do toe taps. The right toe taps next to the left foot and then step it back. Right foot next to left foot, step it back. This will keep you honest, keep going, making sure you're not sinking into the twist, but really keeping that core engagement and awareness. Because if you're sinking in here, you're not going to be able to pick up that right leg. Right foot next to left and back one more time. Right foot next to left, step it back, release from your twist. The right hand comes down to the mat. The right knee comes down. Reach that left leg back, modify a side plank. Bring the left arm alongside the left ear and just allow that to reach over the left ear and arc a little bit to find some space across the left side body. One more breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. The left hand finds the floor, coming back into quadruped, and we'll just take some cat-cows here, rounding between the back, popping up between the shoulder blades, and then coming through your cow pose, feeling the shoulder blades drag down the back, and keep that going. As you feel the shoulder blades dragging down the back for cow pose, feel the hands energetically dragging back towards the knees, and that'll certainly help engage the scapula. Coming back into neutral position for the scapula, step the feet back, coming into plank. You can lower the knees or not, lower all the way to the floor. Bring the arms into a goalpost on the floor. Keep your head down, and we'll just lift the arms, bring the arms up off the floor into goalpost, dragging the shoulder blades back together, and then coming back down. Arms lift up and back down. Keep going with that. By keeping the head on the floor, we're making sure that our neck muscles aren't jumping in to help the movement and really focusing on what's happening within the shoulder complex. Keep going, a couple more. Last time. Hands come underneath the shoulders, press up and back through plank, lifting in one piece, downward facing dog. And we're starting that second side. Starting with those down dog shrugs, press into the palm, the shoulder blades elevate on the rib cage, shoulders move closer to the ears, and then come back down. And keep going with that. Putting all your brain power into your shoulder blades, even if you don't really feel like you're doing that much here. Just put your brain power there. And if you do this time and time again, eventually the brain mapping will start to become more natural. Kind of like if you're taking a road trip somewhere that you've never been before, check your Waze, you're not really sure where to go. But then after a while, as you're driving home from work one day, you realize you weren't even paying attention and you're not really sure how you got home, which isn't great, but that's kind of what our body does with the brain mapping. Step the right foot forward, coming into a high crescent lunge. And we'll bring the fingertips to the shoulders and do those circles again, which is why it's really important in yoga or in any movement practice to establish neutral and make sure that you're moving in optimal movement patterns and biomechanically, because otherwise our body just goes on autopilot, like when we're driving home and all of a sudden we don't remember getting off the exit or how we exactly got there if we weren't paying attention. But our bodies can go into compensatory patterns that over time can lead to issues like sciatica, like plantar fasciitis, like these common pains that people deal with. The left elbow stays up next to the left ear, extend the left arm, bring the right fist on top of the left glute, take a little side bend over towards the right. Reach back up through center, left elbow on top of the right thigh. Come to find your prayer twisted crescent. Holding the architecture of the shoulder here, breathing along the length of the spine. And then we'll start to do those toe taps, left foot next to right. Left foot next to right. Keep going. Notice if this side is easier or harder. Just something to pay attention to. Hold the left foot back, bring the left hand underneath the left shoulder, left knee comes down, coming into modified side plank. Right leg reaches back, right arm can reach over the right ear, allow the left ear to drop towards the left shoulder, and just find some length across the right side body. Allowing that right hand to come back down onto the mat. Right knee comes down and find your cat-cow here. Really focusing on the movement that's happening between the shoulder blades. Coming back to neutral, walking the feet back for plank, and lowering all the way to the floor. Hands come into goalpost, keeping the forehead on the floor, lift and lower the arms up and down. Squeeze that imaginary marble between the shoulder blades and release. Hands rest down, then bring them underneath the shoulders. Press up and back through down dog. And then walk your feet to meet your hands, making your way to the top of the mat. Taking any adjustments, grabbing a drink if you need to. We're going to put those together, two sequences together quickly. Coming to find top of the mat, finding your mountain pose, check in with your shoulder blades, help them find neutral. What does it feel like to squeeze shoulder blades together, squeeze the marble? What does it feel like to round the back? And then find that happy medium in between. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Step the right leg back, keeping the fingertips on the floor, and then squeezing the shoulder blades together. You can bend the elbows and then do a little tricep kickback here. Rebend the arms, fingertips reach down. Initiating all the movement from the shoulder blades. Arms lift up, back, in, and down. Up, back, in, and down. One more time. Back knee comes to the floor. We come up into that low lunge from the beginning of class, and we'll bring the forearms together, shoulder blades come apart, squeeze the marble, and keep going with that. Together and apart. Arms stay apart in that goalpost, plant the hands, step back for plank, lower all the way. Fingertips come wide off the mat, coming into that wide fingertip cobra. Squeezing between the shoulder blades, allow the top of the head to come down towards the floor and release. Hands come underneath shoulders, press up and back, downward facing dog. Bend the elbows about a quarter or halfway to the floor. Squeeze them in. We're coming into that turbo dog. Straighten the elbows about 98% of the way. Then step that left foot forward. We're back in that high crescent lunge. This time, we'll bring our arms, elbows out in front of us, and we'll take those twists opening side to side. Left arm opens to the left, back to center. Right arm opens to the right and back to center. Good. After this last one, we're going to hold it twisted towards the left, then bring the right forearm onto the left thigh, coming into that prayer twisted crescent. The left hand, we're just going to come right, the right hand will come underneath the right shoulder blade. We're going to step back for a full side plank, bringing the left hand on top of that right shoulder to just provide a little bit of stabilization and support. Feel the shoulder blade on the rib cage. Both hands plant down, lower all the way. This time, bring the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers. We'll lift up into a locust pose. You can draw the shoulder blades together, find some opening across the front of the chest, and release. Hands come underneath the shoulders, press up and back, downward facing dog. Walk the feet in to meet the hands. Inhale, rise to stand. Second side, exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Plant the fingertips, step the right leg back this time. We're on our fingertips. Lift the shoulder blades, squeeze them together to lift the fingertips off the floor. Elbows bend, reach the hands back. Bend the elbows, hands down. Take that a couple more times. Focusing on the shoulder blades. Last one. Back knee comes down, arms come in front of us with the elbows bent at 90 degrees. Open and close. Open and close. You're going to add a little bit more movement here, maybe when you bring the elbows in, allowing the head to drop, and then opening up a little bit bigger, leaning back more into those shoulder blades. Once we have the structure of our movement patterns, we can add in a little bit more freedom, make it more dynamic and more complex. We always come back to that core being integrated and moving from a place of strength. Last time. And then the hands plant down, step back for plank, lower all the way. Arms come back, interlace the fingers, lift up for locust this time. And release down. Hands come underneath the shoulders, press up and back. Downward facing dog. This time we'll do those down dog shrugs, pressing the floor away, the shoulders come closer to the ears, and then release. Press away and release. Bring your focus to the shoulder blades. Just imagine moving them up and back down, strengthening all the muscles that make that motion happen. Coming back to neutral, the right leg steps forward this time, coming into that high crescent lunge. Elbows come in that 90-degree angle in front of us. Right elbow opens up to the right and back, left and back. Shoulder blade squeezes in and down, in and down. Create your own resistance. We'll hold it facing the right. Left elbow comes on top of the right thigh. Find your prayer twisted crescent and pause here. Find the length, holding the structure of the shoulder in place. And then that left hand comes onto the floor. Step back for full side plank. The right hand can grab and hold the left shoulder. You might feel some muscle quivering. And then the right hand comes down. Both knees come down. And let's sink the hips back to the heels, coming into a child's pose. Need it. Bend the elbows, bringing them onto the floor and praying the hands above the head. And then you have the option of just allowing those hands to come back and really touching the shoulder blades, neck area that we just worked, or you can keep them in prayer facing the ceiling. Give yourself a literal pat on the back. Good job. Sending your breath right to where those hands are on your shoulder blades. And then we've got time for 2 more shoulder stretches now. I'll start in quadruped. Sweep the right arm up and open to the right, and then thread the needle, bringing that right arm through the left arm and left leg. You can bring the right side of the head all the way down onto the floor. You can keep this left palm right underneath the left shoulder and use that to provide some gentle leverage and press into the hand to feel a different stretch across that right shoulder blade. Being mindful and gentle if you have any pre-existing shoulder concerns. And then coming back, rolling on your head and pressing that right arm up and open to the right. Just a very gentle counter stretch before bringing that right hand underneath the right shoulder. Inhaling the left arm up and open to the left, and then threading it through and bringing the left side of the head down onto the floor. And you can press into that right hand to provide just a bit extra pressure and stretch to that left shoulder blade. And coming back up, you'll reach that left arm up and open to the left, very gentle and quick counter stretch, and then come back down. We'll do one more stretch, coming to lay on our bellies this time. Extend the right arm all the way straight out towards the right. The left hand comes underneath the left shoulder. Press into that left hand and turn towards the left as that right arm is extended. You could just keep the head on the floor. Right now, both my legs are straight out long, but I'll bend that bottom knee, the right knee, and just bring it in towards the belly. Again, just to help prevent any low back torquing that might happen. this stretch is not one that fits your fancy, a good option is just going up against the wall and kind of getting the same pec stretch without weight bearing. Rolling back down towards the left, coming back onto your belly. Reaching the left arm out to the left. The right hand comes underneath the right shoulder. Press into the palm and turn towards that right. The left knee this time bends in towards the belly. So the top leg is out long. That bottom knee is bent and in towards the chest. Coming back down to lay on the floor. Slowly and mindfully making your way back up. And I would encourage you today, rather than finding your Shavasana, find a wall that you can just sit up against comfortably, maybe coming into a crossed ankle seated position, but something that you can just feel the shoulder blades against the wall, help them find their neutral so you're not rounded forward, you're not squeezing that marble again. They're just sitting naturally on the back. The neck is nice and long. So at the bottom of your hairline where your neck meets your skull, just reach that up nice and long so you feel more length across the back of the neck, and just take a few breaths here in this position, bringing your attention to the back of that heart space, your scapula, and just taking some few deep breaths here. And as you're ready, you can flutter those eyes open. Slowly remove yourself from the wall, but keep in mind that posture through the rest of your night and day to stand up nice and tall, bring the shoulder blades back into neutral where they belong.